Hello and welcome to the Halion Heroic Guide from LoveToPlayWoW.com. If you are having problems with Halion Heroic, then I hope this guide will help you. First, some basics. When you get a consumption or a combustion, obviously the faster you get to the edge, the better. Consider this training dummy in front of me as the boss. When you get the consumption, you shouldn't turn around and then start running. Don't backpedal either. What you want to do is to strafe and turn really fast at the same time. So start moving out of the raid first and then try to figure out a location for where to drop the debuff, not the other way around. This will improve your reaction time and will be of high importance in phase 3. In the beginning of the fight, have your tank mount up and charge in, so that the dragon is kept in the center of the field. That helps with meteors and combustions. The way you handle the adds is critical for this encounter. What happens is that each time a meteor hits the ground, quite a few small fire elementals will spawn, together with a large fire elemental. If the small adds are kept close to the large fire elemental, they will get buff points. They will grow in size and in HP, so it's absolutely critical that the small adds and the large add are kept separated from each other. For this you will need 4 tanks. One for the normal realm, one for the shadow realm, one for the small adds, and one for the big add. During the fight, the raid stays grouped up in melee range. This is because you want to be able to control the small adds. When the small adds spawn, they aggro people in the raid. They go to the people in the raid, but they find themselves under a decay's death and decay. Also, rogues use Tot together with Fan of Knives, and thus the small adds end up attacking the tank. A second later, the rest of the raid uses AoE effects, damaging both adds and the boss. If somehow one or two fire elementals aggro the main tank or the big add tank, do damage to them, death grip them, so they come back to the raid. The large add has a tank moving him to a side. Since he cannot be taunted, direct damage is needed, and help from hunters with misdirect is important. Hunters have it tough in this battle since they have problems with range. Once they misdirect the big ad, they should just keep on going and do damage to him. The rest of the ranged switches to the big fire elemental once the small ones are down. Because the raid stays grouped up in melee for the adds, each time a meteor hits, everyone has to go through the boss to the other side. Go closer to the back legs than the front. A tail swipe only stuns you, a breath attack will kill you. One thing to note is that you will get combustion just before meteor. The person with combustion has to run more towards the tail rather than the side, so that he will be in range for heal and dispel once the entire group moves through the dragon. It's a good idea to use Bloodlust heroism at the start if that helps you go into the transition with only 2 meteor strikes. Otherwise, you can just go and use it in phase 2, as it will help you with avoiding death in phase 2. We barely managed to go into phase 2 with 2 meteor strikes by delaying a bit ranged DPS on the second large fire elemental. The transition can be quite tricky because of the loading times and the cleaves. The first one to go in is the Shadow Realm tank, followed closely by a couple of healers, then the rest of the raid. Tanks and healers should use some cooldowns. A paladin healer is preferred as he can bubble and then get in. So tank and healer go in and then the rest of the raid follows. The tank should quickly move the boss from the portal area in order to avoid people getting cleaved. Face it the same way as he was faced outside. Position yourselves like you see in this video. Healers and people that enter too early are at high risk of getting cleaved. But if healers enter too late, somebody dies. Just to make a point, this is what happened when the RNG gods threw a combustion on our tank right before transition. We had to enter portal a bit late. He didn't have enough time to reposition the boss. We were eager to enter, and the cleave took care of the rest. Phase 2 welcomes you with 2 cutters instead of just 1, and then there is the consumption, the shadow debuff. First, the cutters. How many people have died from cutters in your raid? Instead of having the entire raid looking for the cutters, we only have the main tank doing that. So we play the game Trust That Tank. The tank looks for the orbs behind the dragon and estimates how the cutters will intersect. Based on that, he rotates the dragon so he doesn't get hit. The rule for the rest of the raid is that they always stay to the side of the dragon and a bit to the left. Movement is always towards the left, so be ready to move towards the left. If someone in your raid is dying from cutter, you can tell them to check this video to better see how the raid members are getting positioned. The killer in this phase is actually cutter combined with consumption, the shadow debuff. The problem is the shadow void zone you leave behind slows you down, so you get caught by the cutter. So use Hands of Freedom on the affected person before dispelling the debuff. Freedom cooldown is enough to be used every second combustion, so use it for the one during cutter. Run out as you get the debuff and to the left, running away from the cutter that is following you. Don't go too far to the left on your way back, or when you will return you will get a breath attack. Melee stay positioned at max melee range. Ranged can be a bit further out, but not by much. This way, both ranged and melee will be able to strafe left easily on the cutters. The cutters won't intersect in your face. You won't have much running to do when shadow debuff strikes you. And you won't be too far out so that a shadow void zone dispelled from another player will catch you accidentally. Special note to hunters. Run closer to the boss when a player is running out to get dispelled. If you are unsure of how to drop the debuff, then while running, look out for the orb. If you see it really close to you on your left and the cutters aren't up yet, get behind the orb, strafe to the left, and that way when the cutters will spawn, they will spawn just in front of you. So you just strafe a bit to the left and you are behind the orb and you run behind it until you get dispelled. Once you do get dispelled and the cutters are also up, don't run straight towards the boss. The cutters will catch you. Don't run only left. The cutters will catch you. Run towards the boss and towards the left side at the same time. That is how you have the best chance of escape. One important thing to note for healers at this stage is that during cutters they should mainly focus on healing tank and the person that has the debuff. They can leave the rest of the raid drop in HP. Usually what happens is that healers see people going down on HP and they start healing them, and tank or the person with debuff dies. So no, just heal the person with the debuff and the tank. You can heal up the rest of the raid right after the cutters finish. When you transition into phase 3, one of the people from the outside group might get consumption just before going out. If that happens and he does go out with consumption, then he will detonate on top of the portal, most likely where all the rest of the raid is. So check timer before clicking on the portal, see if you have consumption on you. In order to avoid deaths resulting from another transition, we had main tank and one healer never entering the Shadow Realm. They just sit outside and chill out during phase 2. As the dragon spawns in phase 3, tank picks him up, healer heals him. Rest of the raid will soon join through the portal. You have to properly divide your raid for phase 3. We had 3 healers inside, 3 outside. Only 6 healers, so we can reasonably get into phase 2 in 2 meteors. 5 DPS inside, rest outside. More DPS outside because of the fire elementals. Melees inside, ranged outside because of moving and buffs debuffs. 1 rogue outside for tricks to add, to small adds, to the tank. In phase 3 you will see a percentage on the top middle of your screen. 50% means everything is fine. 40% means your side is doing a bit too much DPS. You should slack a bit. 30% means you should stop all DPS on boss. Players on the other side are soon to be dead if they aren't dead already. The percentage should fluctuate as little as possible. It should go to 40% as the outside group gets the adds, but once the outside group kills the adds, the percentage should go back to 60%, and then it should go back down and up as the adds are taken care of. If it's following this pattern, everything is fine. Also, when you are outside and you see a consumption zone, it's a good idea to try and place your combustion to the right of the consumption. That way, there are less chances that the two will overlap, killing players in the process. I wish you and your raid the best of luck and the best of drops. Thanks for watching.